Amazing twist, kind billionaire reveals incredible dream come true for brave girl battling cancer. Lily sat on the edge of her hospital bed, the sunlight streaming through the window, illuminating the contraption she had been sketching. It was her roller coaster, the one she envisioned soaring through the clouds, twisting, turning, defying gravity. At 12, she had already battled cancer, her spirit as tenacious as the sun breaking through the grayest clouds. But today, a troubling uncertainty clouded her mind. The doctors had said her health was fluctuating, nothing could be guaranteed. Would she ever get the chance to see her dreams take flight? Her mother, Sarah, always wore a brave face as she juggled shifts at the diner, the grocery store, a cleaning job. Each hour spent working took a toll on her body, yet it seemed to empower her resolve. "We'll make it through this, Lily," Sarah often reassured, her voice a soft promise dripping with sacrifice. But even in moments when she was strong, Lily felt the weight of her mother's worry pressing against her heart. Then came the news of Sam Blake, the billionaire who had moved to their small town. Infamous for his kindness, whispers about him flitted through their community like butterflies, sparking such excitement. But the real twist came during the fundraiser. He stood in front of them, offering hope. "I want to mentor you, Lily," he had said, his eyes twinkling with sincerity, as he leaned down to meet her gaze. The thrill of possibility was intoxicating, yet a shaky tide of pride churned within Lily. Would she, after everything they had endured, allow herself to be helped? The thought made her stomach twist. Was accepting this opportunity a betrayal to her mother, who had always taught her to rely on her own strength? Deep down, she feared that wishing to soar with Sam's guidance would mean abandoning the hard-fought lessons of resilience taught in their small, cramped living room where dreams were born by candlelight. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Moments of laughter echoed in her mind, the joyful shrieks as they huddled together on rides in the park, both precariously clinging to the safety bar while shooting through loops. But now, shadows crept in, threatening to eclipse those memories. She felt Sam's offer beating against her heart like the rhythmic thumping of a roller coaster ascending, anticipation building in her chest. Yet, the prospect of facing a corporation willing to bring everything crashing down loomed like a dark tunnel below the surface of a sunny day. Lily's thoughts spiraled as she considered the potential fallout. What if the help came with strings? What if her mother's pride was a sacrifice paid too dearly? The internal battles morphed into echoes of ailments worse than cancer itself. The fear of losing her independence gnawed at her like a relentless roller coaster descending into sharp turns, and just as her resolve began to stabilize, a slip of paper landed just outside the hospital room. A rumor spreading like wildfire: litigation was imminent, the kind that could change everything for Sam and Lily. All that hope danced on the edge of a precipice, waiting for someone, anyone, to extend a hand. Would it be Sam, or would that hand pull Lily further away from the dreams she dared to dream? As tears welled, mixed with determination, all she could do was grasp at the resolve building inside her heart. Would she stand up and fight, or would she let the ride of her life pass her by? Lily's mind raced as she wrestled with the implications of Sam's offer amidst the potential chaos. The slip of paper fluttered to the ground, taunting her with the uncertainty it carried. Litigation threatened to rip apart not only Sam's world but also the fragile strands of hope he had woven into her life. As small as she felt in that big hospital room, one thing resonated loudly: she could choose how to navigate this new reality. Her fingers traced the outline of her roller coaster sketch, a blueprint for escape conjured up in a hospital that felt more like a prison each passing day. The twisty loops and dizzying drops reflected her internal turmoil, a potent symbol of the exhilaration she so desperately craved yet wasn't sure she deserved. It was a tangible reminder of her dreams that felt both dangerously close and painfully far. Lily had learned hard truths during her battle with cancer. Alone in the dark nights post-treatment, she had confronted feelings of abandonment, isolation, and defeat. But as the sun began to set outside her window, casting a golden glow on everything it touched, an idea flickered to life in her mind. This could be her moment of transformation, not just for herself but for her mother too. What would I have to lose? She murmured, her voice barely breaking the silence. Lily envisioned Sam as more than just a billionaire. He could be a collaborator in her creation, a mentor who could guide her towards realizing her dreams. But accepting his help would mean exposing herself to vulnerability, the risk of disappointment that loomed like a shadow. The following morning, the insistent chatter of nurses and the beeping of machines provided a stark contrast to the serenity she sought. Over breakfast, she could hear snippets of conversation about Sam, generosity, reinvention, to what lengths he would go to support those like her. The stories felt like the scenes of a movie, glamorous yet distant. In that moment, she found herself questioning whether she could play a part in the narrative unfolding around her. What if being brave meant allowing someone in? She thought, sounding out her burgeoning resolve. Lily realized that asking for help wasn't a weakness, it was an avenue toward empowerment. She imagined the day she would emerge from this hospital, sturdy enough to face the world, armed with her mother's lessons and Sam's mentorship. With a newfound clarity, she decided to take the first step. If she ever wanted to ride the roller coaster of her dreams, she needed to confront not only the external forces threatening her but also the internal barriers she had built. It was time to walk into the unknown, even if it felt terrifying. Lily reached for her phone, her fingers trembling as she dialed Sam's number from memory. "Mr. Blake?" she began, her determination reverberating through the airwaves. "I'd like to talk about that mentorship." Each word propelled her forward, a leap of faith off the daunting edge of her internal fears. As she hung up, the silence wrapped around her, but it felt different this time. It was tinged with possibilities rather than fear. Yet, just as she embraced this nascent confidence, unable to shake another stark realization: if she let Sam in, would she also need to confront the looming threat of litigation? A new wave of anxiety surged through her. Will the pressures of the world beyond the hospital walls crush her newfound resolve, or will this mentorship be the adrenaline she needs to transcend her current reality? The hours following her call to Sam passed in a haze of uncertainty, yet bursting with fervor. Every tick of the clock heightened her anticipation and dread in equal measure. Thoughts spiraled around her. Would he view her as just another project? Would stepping into his world expose her to the heartache of disappointment? Lily took a deep breath, determined to carve out her space amid the hospital's incessant cacophony. She pulled out her sketchbook, lines of her roller coaster sketch bathed in afternoon light. She began to add more details, weaving in elements of both her turmoil and her dreams. Each stroke of the pencil symbolized her desire for escape, reminiscent of the childhood joy she craved. This was more than a drawing, it was a manifestation of her willpower, her identity, a burgeoning artist who wouldn't let herself be defined solely by her illness. As she filled the page with concepts, twists that represented trials, loops symbolizing her roundabout struggle with acceptance, Lily maneuvered between fear and empowerment. With every artistic flourish, she realized that this creative process wasn't solely about what she might do with Sam, it was about releasing her own expectations, embracing uncertainty. In art, she was free. When the soft knock on her door jolted her from the trance of creation, she almost hesitated to answer. Her heart raced as the door opened, revealing a nurse carrying the day's remains, a stack of fresh flowers and a letter from Sam. The nurse placed them gently on her bedside table and smiled knowingly, sensing the unsettled excitement radiating from Lily. The flowers were vibrantly colorful, an emblem of hope and renewal, mirroring her recent resolve. With a trembling hand, she opened the letter. Sam's words flowed with encouragement and enthusiasm, inviting her to a personal meeting at his office, significant not just for her art but for the dream that had begun to unfurl within her. The ink seemed to dance across the page, urging her to cultivate courage, to bring her visions into reality. As she finished reading, a medley of emotions washed over her. The thrill of opportunity coursed through her veins, yet doubt nearly drowned it out. Could she truly rise above her circumstances and not just survive but thrive? The specter of litigation lurked at the edges of her thoughts, teasing her with potential disaster. Could this venture push her beyond the boundaries she had erected in self-preservation? Sinking back into her hospital bed, Lily allowed herself to grapple with these conflicting feelings. She pictured Sam's world a whirlwind of ambition, collaboration, and potential. What if she faltered? What if she allowed fear of failure to hold her back? The sky outside her window darkened, making room for the unknown night, which brought with it a realization: courage was about making the choice to act despite fear. It meant stepping into the light of vulnerability to chase the exhilarating roller coaster of her dreams. With determination rekindled, she returned to her sketchbook, adding one final flourish to her creation. It was a representation of resilience, hope, and a more profound purpose. If she were to embrace this mentorship, she would have to confront her fears head-on, including the looming threat of litigation. But little did Lily know that her decision to step into the light would send ripples into both her life and Sam's, revealing deeper connections that neither had anticipated. Tomorrow was her first day outside the hospital walls. Would stepping into this new world fortify her spirit or risk unraveling the threads of her resolve? As she closed her sketchbook and settled in for the night, her heart thumped in anticipation of what lay ahead. The time had come to face not only her dreams but the contingencies that accompanied them. Morning light filtered in through the hospital window, an orb of clarity amidst the usual haze of uncertainty. Lily's heart raced as she prepared for her first day outside the walls that had confined her for so long. Each item she packed into her bag felt significant: her sketchbook, a pen, and some freshly drawn creation symbolized the fresh start she was pursuing. She moved with a blend of eagerness and trepidation, mentally rehearsing what she might say when she met Sam. How would she present herself? The nuances of her identity felt fragile. She'd spent years encased in the comforts of routine and familiarity, but today, she was stepping into the unknown. It wasn't just about meeting a well-established figure, it was about asserting herself as an artist with a voice. As she wheeled her belongings through the brightly lit corridors of the hospital, she felt a familiar tug of vulnerability. Each passing nurse and doctor captured moments of her past struggles, conversations revolving around prognosis, treatment plans, and inevitable setbacks. Yet today, there was a shift, a sense of reclaiming her narrative. With every step she took toward the entrance, Lily visualized the rejection of limitations. Upon reaching the front doors, the city unfurled before her a vivid tableau of life bustling in the sun-soaked streets. Grit and vibrancy surrounded her, overwhelming her senses. She took a breath, allowing the openness to permeate through the bubble of self-doubt that encased her. This was her world too, bustling with possibilities and aspirations. The anticipation bubbled in her chest as she walked toward Sam's office. With each passing moment, her resolve hardened. However, lurking beneath that resolve lay the persistent voice of doubt. What if her art wasn't good enough? What if he didn't see her as a serious contender in this landscape? Arriving at the sleek, modern building, she hesitated at the entrance. Her palms grew clammy and her heart raced uncontrollably. Just a week ago, she had been trapped within sterile walls, consumed by limitation. Standing here now felt like a test of her will. Yet, with that doubt came the urge to defy it. She adjusted her sleeves, inhaled deeply, and pushed the door open. Inside, the ambience shifted. The walls were adorned with vibrant artwork, testimonies of creativity and ambition. It felt encouraging yet intimidating, an exhibit of what she hoped to obtain. A receptionist greeted her with a warm smile, one that reminded Lily of what she had experienced often within the hospital walls: genuine support and warmth. She returned the smile, feeling solidarity in that simple exchange. Moments later, Sam appeared, extending his hand, which Lily shook with a firm grip. His welcoming demeanor put her slightly at ease. "I'm so glad you're here," he said, leading her down a corridor adorned with stunning pieces of art. An initial conversation blossomed, full of inquiries about her artistic influences and aspirations. As they moved deeper into his office, Lily allowed herself to be vulnerable, sharing stories of her journey, her struggles, and how art had provided her escape. Each word felt liberating, like letting go of a long-standing burden. But then Sam posed a question that caught her off guard: "What do you want from this, doing art, working with me?" What does success look like for you? Lily felt the weight of what was to come. Her answer could define her direction in this newfound collaboration. She had always seen success as a distant dream, a horrifying abyss she was terrified to leap into. But now, sentiment and clarity reeled within her mind. Her response built an intensity, encapsulating not only ambition but her relentless fight against the shadows that threatened to engulf her. In that moment, she understood the power of authenticity, feeling the tremor of resolve coursing through her veins. But just as she began to articulate her vision, something in Sam's eyes shifted, a glimmer of surprise intertwined with curiosity. In that flash, she sensed the potential for deeper connection beyond mere mentorship. What did this mean? Somewhere inside, a complex realization began to form, igniting a fire of ambition. Would she risk articulating her dreams, or would she let fear recapture her voice? The moment of truth was within her grasp. This opportunity was a fork in her road, and each path loomed ahead with weighty significance. Just as she was about to pull the courage to give voice to her vision, the door swung open, revealing unexpected visitors that might shake her resolve and push her ever closer to her limits. As the door swung open, Lily's breath caught. A group of well-dressed individuals entered, their chatter merging with the room's energy. She recognized one of them immediately. It was a local celebrity artist, known not just for his talent but also for a reality show that showcased his extravagant lifestyle. The presence of such influential figures made her heart race with anxiety. Sam, however, seemed unfazed. He smiled warmly at his guests, introducing them casually as if they were walking into a small gallery show rather than an important meeting. Lily felt her thoughts spiraling. Would they take note of her? Would they be wrapped up in their own conversation, ignoring her completely? As the introductions flowed, Lily stood by, battling discomfort. She was surrounded by authority and prestige, yet she couldn't help but feel like an intruder in her own narrative. Sam encouragingly gestured her forward. This was her chance to express not only her artistic aspirations but also her personal journey. It was time to seize the narrative, she realized, not just for her sake but for those who might see themselves in her struggle. With a determined breath, Lily stepped into the circle of conversation, her pulse quickening. She joined in as they discussed art styles, market trends, and the weight of societal expectations. Each word she spoke was a delicate balancing act between showing who she was and attempting to fit into their world. Actually, she interjected when a gap in conversation appeared, I believe that art can carry our deepest experiences. My journey has made me appreciate its power and resonance more than ever. The word surprised even her, spilling forth with a confidence that felt newly minted. The celebrity artist paused, interest flickering in his eyes. What experiences have shaped your work? He asked in that instant, her story swelled within her. This wasn't merely about being a cancer survivor, it was a lens through which art took on meaning, carrying weight beyond the canvas. She began to share her tale, her struggles, the moments of despair, and the sheer catharsis in finding a voice through her brush. Each story threaded into her passion for art, creating a tapestry that was distinctly her own. For the first time, she felt not only seen but also understood. Their reactions were a mix of nods and thoughtful murmurs. She could see their perceptions shifting. She was more than just a novice artist, she was an embodiment of resilience and creativity. Lily's pulse quickened as she realized the recognition within Sam's gaze. There was something more potent in this moment. It was validation, yet even as kudos flowed, a creeping doubt settled in her chest. Would this acknowledgement hold? Would her newfound courage withstand the scrutiny that could follow? Her heart raced, but she pushed those thoughts aside, forcing herself to stay present. Sam smiled, eliciting a welcoming atmosphere as he addressed the group. Lily's perspective might offer a fresh direction for our upcoming exhibition. What if we gave her a platform? It's time for artists to engage more intimately with their personal narratives. The applause that followed was overwhelming. But with it came an unexpected pang of fear. What did that mean for her? Was she ready to meld her identity with such public exposure? Could she share her vulnerabilities on a stage this grand? The celebrity artist turned to her, clearly intrigued. What do you need to make this happen? Lily struggled with the meaning of the question, but it also sparked something fierce within her. This wasn't just an offer, it was an invitation to rise or retreat. As they further discussed the ideas swirling around the exhibition, Lily could feel the shift within herself, a resolve hardening in response to uncertainty. But amid the excitement, a gnawing thought loomed: was she prepared to face the weight of their expectations? Would her burgeoning confidence withstand the inevitable pressures that would threaten her voice? The room buzzed with ideas, yet her mind was perilously teetering on the edge of a decision that could redefine her existence, to embrace this chance or to retreat into the shadows of doubt. And as the energy crackled, Lily was quickly reminded that the real challenge wasn't just about artistry, it was about confronting her very essence and worth. Just as she felt ready to articulate her intentions, Sam interjected, "Before we proceed, I believe it's vital to discuss something very important about your work, Lily. Let's take a moment to clarify what you believe defines success." But where would she find the words to make this pivotal moment her own? Lily's heart raced as she felt the spotlight on her, an exposure she had craved but now felt daunting. Success was not merely a goal, it was an intimate understanding of her journey, a reflection of her struggles and triumphs, yet how could she frame that for others? What did success look like for someone who had been stripped bare by life's harsh realities? Success, she began slowly, her voice steadying as she met Sam's encouraging gaze, is the courage to translate pain into purpose. The silence that followed felt heavy but charged with expectation. She could feel the weight of those gathered, each person leaning in. This was not just a question of artistic direction, it was a question of her authenticity. "I measure it in moments," she continued, her thoughts cascading like paint across a canvas. "The moments when I've stood in front of a blank surface and felt utter despair, and yet I didn't walk away. I faced that emptiness, I filled it with what I believed was missing in my life." Success is the journey of transforming anguish into artistry, a personal growth every brushstroke brings. Basking in her own insight, she sensed it resonating within the group. Their expressions shifted from mere curiosity to reflection, finding parallels in her words. She continued, feeling bolder, weaving in her belief that for her, art had become a means of reclaiming her identity. "I don't just want to share canvases, I want to share pieces of myself. Art can be the healing dialogue between hope and fear. When I paint, I am connecting with that survival instinct, that urge to express and exist despite adversities." For a moment, the room transformed into a sacred space, encapsulating her vulnerability. Lily felt a surge of empowerment, she was no longer the feared novice, but an artist grounded in truth. It began to dawn on her that expression could bridge connection, weaving threads of empathy and understanding. Just then, the celebrity artist chimed in, his eyes brimming with genuine interest. "Your perspective is refreshing, and it's a narrative too many artists shy away from. I can already envision an exhibition that not only showcases your work but reveals the stories behind each piece. How do we prototype that?" The excitement in the room intensified, stirring something deep within Lily. This was not merely an artistic opportunity, it was a chance to reclaim her agency. Yet amidst the exhilaration, doubt flickered within her. Could she withstand the scrutiny that accompanied such raw exposure? As they brainstormed themes: identity, survival, resilience, she was struck by the realization of her strength. Each of her insecurities started morphing into invitations. Her vulnerabilities could be the bedrock of an exhibition, a statement that invited conversation rather than judgment. "Each moment I share in this exhibition will spotlight not just my battles, but universal truths that many encounter," she asserted confidently. Even as the weight of that truth settled on her shoulders, the conversations shifted rapidly, building around new ideas for installations, community engagements, and interactive components that encouraged vulnerability from others. For each suggestion, a part of her that had previously shied away from visibility began to emerge, the high stakes translating into a newfound purpose. But then doubt washed over her. How do I balance my need for authenticity and the potential for public scrutiny? A voice in her mind whispered that exposure could amplify her insecurities exponentially. As they continued brainstorming, she visualized the gallery, filled with strangers gazing upon her work. Understanding or misunderstanding her story could dictate how she felt. Let us make art something accessible, she voiced, her mind turning rapidly. Connecting others' narratives could unify the experience, breaking the isolation often felt in personal struggles. Perhaps through workshops or dialogues, we can allow voices outside my own to mingle with mine, sharing stories around the exhibition. The conversation heated up, spiraling into endless possibilities. However, a quiet fear loomed within her. Would exploring this vulnerability diminish her confidence? Was she truly willing to journey deeper into the narrative landscape? As the intensity of the discussion escalated, a part of her whispered that she was on the precipice of transformation, yet she hesitated. With a heart full of hope but a mind clouded by fear, Lily realized she was standing before a fork. The momentum acted as both a terrifying plunge into the unknown and an exhilarating leap into her potential. Lily, she heard Sam's voice cut through her swirling thoughts. Let us consider how we can frame your narrative to not only showcase your art but also to invite others to share their stories. What do you think could be your first step into that? Caught between aspirations and trepidation, she contemplated her next words carefully, the flames of uncertainty heating her determination. Could she unleash her narrative while still protecting her core? The moment required more than just courage, it required a confrontation with the essence of her art, her identity, and the very definition of success she was struggling to articulate. And just as she prepared to respond, a sudden thought pierced through her mind. If stepping into this role meant facing her fears, was she ready to embrace the vulnerability it entailed? Would this be the launchpad for her evolution, or an anchor pulling her back into the shadows? The room buzzed with anticipation, and she steadied her breath, readying herself for the leap before her. But the lingering question hung heavily in the air. Was she prepared to unveil a deeper truth about herself, one that could either illuminate or consume her? Lily's heart thudded against her ribcage as she considered Sam's question. The blending of dreams and doubts swirled in her mind, demanding clarity. The exhibition was more than a showcase, it was a revelation intertwined with the very fabric of her existence, and opening up meant exposing herself in ways she had only dared to imagine. I think, she began slowly, testing the waters, the first step is to create a piece that encapsulates my journey. Something that reflects the raw truth of my experience, infused with both pain and hope. Lily's words hung in the air, vibrating with determination. She could feel their weight, the recognition that this was not merely about the art itself, but an unveiling of her very soul. As they discussed ideas, the flicker of vulnerability compelled her to excavate deeper, sifting through the rubble of fear to find shards of strength hidden beneath. What if we developed a series of canvases that resonated with the themes of identity and recovery? She suggested, her voice gaining momentum. Each piece could represent a different phase of transformation, an honest portrayal of not just what I've lost, but also what I've gained. The group leaned in, inspired by her insight. Sam nodded enthusiastically, his eyes gleaming with appreciation. I love that direction. It's personal and universal. We could have an accompanying narrative for each piece, drawing the audience into your emotional landscape. As ideas flowed, Lily's heart raced, the initial fear crafting itself into fuel for creativity. Every brushstroke she envisioned could serve as a conduit, connecting her to others who silently battled their struggles. Yet, amidst the collective excitement, shadows of self-doubt returned. How could she trust others with her story? Would the audience truly understand her depth, or would they misconstrue her pain? She felt her defenses rise, questioning whether she should hold back pieces of herself as a protective measure. Lily, Sam's voice brought her back, give yourself permission to be vulnerable. That's precisely what resonates with people. It's about being real. His words ignited a small flame in her chest. Vulnerability could be a strength, but it was a concept that both fascinated and terrified her. I know it's important, she stammered, struggling to articulate the surge of conflicting emotions. But what if I expose myself and people reject it? Or worse, reduce it to something superficial? The room fell silent for a moment. She could see the compassion in their eyes, inviting her to explore her wounded places without judgment. That's the power of your narrative, the celebrity artist interjected. People connect with authenticity. Even when they critique or misunderstand, they will feel something. You can redefine what success means for you through your honesty as an artist. Reassured yet still teetering on the edge of fear, Lily felt a deep resolve tightening its grip. Committing to this journey meant embracing not only the parts of herself that spoke of survival but also the memories that stirred bitterness. Transformation wasn't linear, it was messy, complicated, but ultimately, liberating. As the conversation meandered back to practical plans, she felt her inner strength burgeoning like a seed cracking through soil, motivated by a desire to manifest her identity not as an abstract artist but as a person who had faced real adversity. What if we organized interactive sessions during the exhibition? Each one could mirror the themes in my paintings, allowing participants to explore their narratives, she proposed, her voice surging with newfound conviction. They could reflect on their journeys, prompted by my art creating a cathartic dialogue. The excitement in the room reignited. Perhaps this was the bridge she sought, her way of merging personal experience with collective healing. Yet, inside, an unsettling thought niggled at her. Would her efforts resonate, or would they lay open the wounds she feared exposing? As the team began outlining logistics, Lily felt a palpable shift within her, a delicate balance between fear and determination. The more she spoke about her art, the more she recognized the power of her story. But would the exposure galvanize her growth, or would it unravel her? In her quest to share, she faced not just the audience's gaze, but her own reflection, and even as she wove her narrative into the fabric of the project, a single question echoed louder than before: would the authenticity she desired liberate her or hold her hostage to her fears? With her heart pounding in rhythm with her aspirations, she knew the answer lay not merely in the art but within the courage to unfurl her narrative in front of the world. What awaited her on the other side of that vulnerability remained uncertain, yet she felt an unquenchable pull to explore the depths of what could become. Just as her passion ignited the discussions anew, a weighty thought anchored itself in her mind: was she truly ready to face the revelation of her deepest self, both to herself and to an audience waiting with bated breath? Lily awoke the next morning with a renewed fire within her. The dawn light crept through her window, illuminating her sketchbook that lay open on the table, filled with fragments of ideas and echoed emotions. She had long been hesitant to put herself out there, but what Sam had said lingered. The art's power lay in its authenticity, in its potential to resonate with others who felt unseen. Today felt different. It was the day she would confront her fears and her canvas. Stepping into her studio, she let the silence envelop her. It was a sacred space filled with scents of paint and turpentine, walls adorned with remnants of past struggles and victories. Each stroke she had made in earlier works felt like a thread woven into her personal tapestry of resilience. But she also felt the undeniable weight of expectation. With each brush in hand, she closed her eyes and breathed deeply, envisioning the journey she intended to share. What does recovery look like? She whispered to herself, allowing memories to surface: pain, trauma, growth. As images flooded her mind, she could feel the stirring of something profound and unspoken. Lily began with broad strokes, colors swirling together like chaos and calm. Reds and blues clashed, representing the conflict within. As she painted, an unfamiliar urge gripped her, to bare her soul, to let each brushstroke unravel a deeper truth just waiting to emerge. Yet, shadows of doubt crept back in, whispering cruel thoughts that haunted her past. "Who do you think you are?" the voice taunted, pursuing her like an insidious shadow. She hesitated, the brush hovering above the canvas, her breath hitching in her chest. What if she truly exposed the depths of her being, only to be met with scorn or indifference? But as a wave of determination flooded her senses, she remembered Sam's unwavering belief in her. It sparked a flicker of courage. "No," she declared to the empty room, feeling the weight of expectation shift. "I have something to say." As the day unfolded, Lily immersed herself in her project, determined to let her emotions flow uncontrolled across the canvas. The fear that once gripped her began to transform into fervent energy, propelling her forward. Layer after layer, she built not just a painting but a manifesto, an encapsulation of her journey that intermingled struggle with hope. In the quiet of her creative space, revelations began to rise like the sun. She discovered the strength to confront not only her fears but also the aspect of herself she had buried beneath layers of doubt. With every stroke, she revealed new competencies, hidden emotions translated into colors, and memories into shapes. The tools of expression allowed Lily to redefine her narrative, an affirmation of her journey, stitched together through creativity. By dusk, she took a step back and gazed at the nearly completed piece. The vibrant colors intermingled with dark undertones, mimicking the beautiful complexity of life. A tremor of disbelief coursed through her. She had transformed raw vulnerability into art that represented not just loss, but also the triumph that could arise from the ashes. Driven by a newfound sense of purpose, she began drafting a text to accompany her work, finding a way to articulate what it meant to embrace all parts of herself. Yet, that sense of accomplishment was met with a prickling worry. What would happen when she presented her art to others? Would they grasp the complexities she sought to convey, or would her fears manifest again, replaying the worst critiques in her mind? With a mixture of elation and trepidation, she settled down that evening, piecing together not just her artwork, but the guiding narrative that would accompany it. The dialogue she devoutly wished to create wouldn't be just for her, but for anyone who dared to find resonance in the struggles of life. As she closed her notebook to rest for the night, one question loomed larger than the rest: would her truth ignite flames of understanding and connection, or would it fizzle in the judgmental eyes of an audience? Tomorrow would be a chance to step forward, to share not only her piece but also the story behind it. The anticipated moment loomed, uncertainty danced alongside hope, ready to reveal the next chapter of her artistic odyssey. Lily's heart raced as dawn painted the sky in shades of pink and gold. Today was the day she would unveil her work, the culmination of her vulnerabilities and triumphs. The thought both thrilled and terrified her. The anticipation hung thick in the air like the humid summer heat pressing against her skin. She felt the intoxicating rush of possibility and the familiar undercurrent of dread, the fear of rejection. In the quiet of her studio, she reviewed her nearly finished painting one last time, taking in the vibrant chaos that spoke of her journey. Each color represented emotions she had long grappled with, and each stroke told a story of awakening. Yet, an unsettling uncertainty lingered. Would her audience perceive the depths of her experience, or would they only see what lay on the surface, a mere collection of colors? With every deep breath, she anchored herself, reminding herself of the night that had passed. She had poured herself into both the artwork and the accompanying text, aiming to bridge the gap between her heart's truth and the external world. Yet the prospect of sharing it made her heart flutter with panic. What if they dismissed her work as juvenile or pretentious? After gathering her supplies, she set out toward the small gallery where her art would be displayed. Each step felt like a march into the center of vulnerability. The streets were bustling with morning life, and Lily's eyes flitted around, seeking distractions from her racing thoughts. Families strolled, laughter floated in the air, and the world seemed blissfully unaware of her inner turmoil. At the gallery, the atmosphere buzzed with creative energy, but for Lily, it felt suffocating. The walls were lined with diverse artworks, each piece narrating its own story. As she stepped inside the hushed space, a knot tightened in her stomach, her breath catching. Peering at strangers interacting with other artists' creations forced her to confront her own bubbling insecurities. Her painting stood alone, a vibrant savant among muted hues of its neighbors, yet there was a stark fear that overshadowed its brilliance. What if the colors she had mixed with her own pain didn't resonate? With determination, she inhaled the scent of paint mingled with varnish and drew on the courage she had found in her studio. "I am more than my fears," she murmured, attempting to harness her budding resilience. As visitors began to drift toward her painting, Lily found herself instinctively stepping back. She felt exposed, as if every part of her was laid bare. She internalized their whispers, deciphering nods of approval and raised eyebrows. Each reaction sent ripples of anxiety through her. Every lingering gaze felt like a thin veil of judgment, threatening to unravel her hard-earned confidence, but amid her spiraling thoughts, a familiar voice broke through the cacophony of doubt. It was Sam, standing across the room with bright eyes almost shimmering with pride. "You've transformed everything. This is amazing." His genuine enthusiasm tethered her. Lily forced herself to look at her work through Sam's eyes. She had woven together a tapestry of emotions, a raw narrative stitched into the surface. Gradually, her self-check quickly transformed into introspection. As conversations sparked around her artwork, Lily listened closely. Enthusiastic discussions blossomed about the emotions they found within her colors, the stories they felt resonating against their own lives. The realization hit her: her vulnerability had become a beacon, inviting connection, yet, as the crowd thinned, uncertainty crept back in. The myriad voices of her self-doubt began to whisper again, the critique echoing like a metronome in the back of her mind. Would their interpretations align with her truth, or would they evoke new fears? With those questions lingering like shadows, she turned her gaze towards Sam and made a decision. "Can I share my story?" She hesitated for only a moment, but vulnerability surged within her. As she stepped forward, the warmth radiated from her chest, pushing the doubt further back. Each word felt like a stone thrown into still water, rippling outwards, creating space for acknowledgement. She would reveal her truth, regardless of the outcomes. It was time to transform her moment of modesty into empowerment, forging a connection through the unfiltered reality of her experiences. But as she opened her mouth to speak, she caught sight of the gallery door swinging wide. A new figure entered, someone she never expected to see, and immediately the atmosphere shifted. Her heart dropped. Who was this person, and what would their presence mean for her burgeoning journey? As the door swung open to reveal a figure that made her heart plummet, Lily couldn't help but feel the weight of the world pressing against her. It was her old oncologist, Dr. Reynolds, someone she had not expected in her moment of vulnerability. Memories of bitter treatments and uncertain prognosis danced in her mind, threatening to shatter her newly reclaimed confidence. But the doctor strode in, eyes scanning the gallery before settling on Lily. His expression softened as he reached her. "Lily," he began, the sincerity in his voice grounding her turmoil. "I've heard about your exhibition. I had to see it for myself. You've grown so much since our last visit." In that moment, an unexpected wave of warmth washed over her. Despite their complicated history, seeing Dr. Reynolds here, amidst the celebration of her art, felt affirming. "Thank you, Dr. Reynolds," she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "It means a lot to have your support." As the conversations around her flowed, she sensed an opportunity to turn her anxiety into empowerment. Lily took a deep breath, urging herself to use this moment to reflect on her progress not only as an artist but as a survivor. "Success is about the courage to translate pain into purpose," she shared, echoing her earlier thoughts to those who had gathered around her. Their attentive expressions fueled her determination. "This painting represents more than just my journey through cancer. It's a narrative woven from the lessons learned during recovery, resilience in the face of adversity." As she spoke, Lily noted small smiles and nods of understanding from her audience, including Dr. Reynolds. It was a spark of connection she hadn't anticipated, uniting them through shared experiences. No longer did the fear of judgment paralyze her, instead, she began to feel an exhilarating freedom. Suddenly, she turned to Dr. Reynolds, wanting to include him in this pivotal moment. "You were part of my journey, helping me fight through when it felt impossible. You taught me about resilience, the power of hope." He nodded in recognition, gratitude flashing in his eyes. "And you've taught me about the strength that lies within every patient. Your art is a reminder of how far you've come," he said. As the gallery thrummed with conversation, Lily realized something monumental. She had conquered her internal fears and stepped into her truth. The vulnerability she once dreaded now felt like an open invitation to the world around her. Acceptance and understanding bloomed like wildflowers between her and those who had bravely witnessed her journey. By the end of the evening, amidst the vibrant discussions about her art, she understood she had transformed not just as an artist but as a person with an indomitable spirit. Each conversation seemed to add color to her growing narrative, infusing her creations with fresh perspectives and dialogues. When Sam approached her once again, this time his presence radiated pride. "You handled that beautifully, Lily. Your authenticity is refreshing. This exhibition isn't just about art, it's about how you connect and inspire others," he praised. Her heart swelled with gratitude for Sam, the mentor who had ushered her through this journey of growth. This was the moment she had longed for, meeting the world as the artist she aspired to be. With a firm sense of belonging, Lily now felt fear pairing with courage in a beautiful dance. As people began to leave, Lily realized she had achieved more than she ever thought possible. She had confronted her fears and emerged stronger, an artist deeply engaged in her own narrative. Reflecting on her earlier doubts, she now understood them as part of the artistic process, a necessary pathway that led her toward empowerment rather than destruction. The future lay ahead, untouched and filled with possibility, and her heart was fortified to navigate it. Leaving the gallery, as the sun dipped below the horizon painting the sky with brilliant hues, Lily acknowledged the metamorphosis she had undergone, from a girl battling uncertainty and self-doubt within hospital walls to a voice that sparkled with confidence, ready to embark on the roller coaster of life. The greatest ride was yet to come. Now it's your turn. You need to subscribe immediately to this channel so you won't miss our next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support these inspiring narratives. Comment below with your reactions and theories about Lily's incredible journey. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this empowering conclusion. This is the moment to show your support for amazing stories of personal overcoming.